Call a meeting to order. Board of Leavenworth County Commissioners. I'd like to invite everyone to stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to begin with a moment of silence, please. Roll call. I'll start with Commissioner SCHIMKE.
Here.
Commissioner Smith is present. Commissioner CULBERTSON.
Here.
Commissioner KAAZ.
Here.
And Commissioner STIEBEN.
Here.
All commissioners are present. We don't have any public comment this morning, so we'll move on to administrative business. Mr. LOUGHRY.
We do have one item. Yesterday I had submitted a letter. The City of Basehor had asked for a letter of support for a project they're submitting to Mid-America Regional Council for grant funding, and I would like the board to consider approving that. We have all the commissioners sign that and then give it to them. The grant application is due next week, so I think they were. I think they're running a little behind on that, so they'd appreciate it if we could get them that letter this week. All
right. So I'll entertain a motion to approve a letter of support for the City of Basehor to the Mid-America Regional Council.
So moved. Second.
Voting? Or any further discussion, excuse me? Then voting?
Aye.
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 Commissioner KAAZ votes aye.
Commissioner STIEBEN votes aye.
All right. Thank you. And on the letters of support, Commissioner CULBERTSON and myself attended the announcement with Senator Moran and Director of the Federal Bureau of Prisons on the new facility going to be built here in Leavenworth, and we had discussed that it would be nice to have a letter of support from the Board of County Commissioners to send to Senator Moran and to the Bureau of Prisons, or U.S. Department of Justice and the Federal Bureau of Prisons. Commissioners have any concerns on that? The Board of County Commission send a letter of support for the new facility.
I don't have any problem with that.
Okay. All right. Then I'd entertain a motion for to send a letter of support for the new facility to the U.S. Department of Justice and Federal Bureau of Prisons and to Senator Jerry Moran's office.
So moved. Second.
Any further discussion? Voting.
Aye.
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 Commissioner KAAZ votes aye.
Commissioner STIEBEN votes aye.
Okay. We're lucky to get that facility. It's a very nice facility. If anyone wants to look at the packet that we received, I'll pass that around. And also, I'd received a call from David Clifton, I believe the gentleman's name was. He's a wireless internet provider in the Basehor area. Was wanting to know if we'd give a letter of support for him to apply for KAAZ Act funding to help improve the rural broadband speed in his area. He covers basically in the Basehor area and Basehor and Linwood School District. I don't know. We talked about that earlier last week, I believe, and maybe Mark could bring us up to speed on how that works.
Yeah, the state has a second round of KAAZ Act funding that they're looking to distribute. They've identified a few items. The one that you're referring to is the broadband expansion. It makes money available for any project that extends broadband to an area that doesn't already have 25/3 coverage, 25 up and 3 down, I think, or maybe I got that backwards. 3 up, 25 down, broadband coverage. The challenge is they only gave until tomorrow, actually, to get the applications in. Mr. Clifton, I did talk to him yesterday. His group is out in front of it. They're getting all the paperwork put in that they need to, and they just would like a letter of support. I don't know that it's even required, but it wouldn't hurt, that's for sure. And The other challenge with it is, obviously, not only do they have to be able to validate that there isn't coverage in that area, but also that any improvements have to be done before the end of the year. So I have reached out to other carriers and providers without any response. So actually, Mr. Clifton took it upon himself to reach out to us. So I see no reason with not providing a letter of support. It's a competitive process. There's no guarantee that he'll get it, and it could be that more than one group in that area may even apply. So, but that's on them to be as competitive as possible.
Okay. And the name? Do you remember the name of his company?
It's like wireless fiber or something like that. It's got a long name. I don't remember, but I have it. He said he was going to email over the letter that he.
Right. I never got it.
Did you ever get that?
I never got it.
Okay. Well, we can certainly just draft something that says we support broadband expansion in Leavenworth County and any applicant that, and that way, if anybody else would like a letter of support, we'd have it available if the board's okay with that.
Okay. So, I guess I'd entertain a motion to authorize either the chairman or the board to sign letters of support for any wireless internet company that operates in our county for letter of support for any expansion.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Voting?
Aye.
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 Commissioner KAAZ votes aye.
Commissioner Stevens votes aye.
Okay. Thank you.
I would say one thing that is probably unique to their company is that he is I think it's kind of like a franchise. He is the local owner, and he lives in the Basor School District area.
He is,
so he's between Basor and Tonganoxie, somewhere in there is where he actually lives in our county. So.
Yep. It's a local business.
Mark, maybe a question for you. Going back to the new prison, and just a quick question relative to prisons. You know, there's been discussions about how the existing facility might be repurposed. I've heard the city of Leavenworth talk about a museum. You know, in my district, we've got the prison off of Highway 5 that's now basically been abandoned. And so I get into this scenario where I'm excited to keep businesses here and grow businesses here and keep employment and grow employment. We're getting a lot of now properties that are maybe falling into that dark store category of no longer in use. The difference of the dark store theory is they're already paying taxes and they want to pay less. In our scenario, that's not necessarily the case. Now, my question is, if something went into any of those installations and fell into a for-profit category, which would be new businesses, new jobs, tax dollars, sales tax dollars, they'll never be property tax dollars, correct? Because as those properties are currently owned by, you know, state or federal institutions, it doesn't matter what goes on there. The economic development side is going to be lackluster at best. Is that fair or no?
Well, on the federal ground, that would be true. On the state ground, there's a difference.
There is.
Yeah.
Commissioner SCHIMKE, Commissioners, several months ago you asked me to look into Fort Drum, New York, and whether they had any arrangements with their local taxing entities for payment in lieu of taxes of development of facilities on Fort Drum for private enterprise. There is some compensation, but the message I was given by the local taxing authorities, to include some state representatives who are involved in that, was that if you're going to allow or encourage development of private industry or private industry on federal installations, you need to be out in front of it with respect to any agreement for payment in lieu of taxes. That after it occurs, it's extremely difficult to
Unwind.
the cow's out of the barn. So if that does come onto the horizon, I would just suggest that you be cognizant that if you wish to recover any pilot payment in lieu of tax fees, that we would need to initiate that at the very beginning of the discussion.
Okay.
This is Commissioner KAAZ. I think that we need to make sure that we do keep on top of that, because I think we need to have a shift in the attitude about not selecting some type of in lieu of for all future projects.
Okay.
For state and even locally owned properties, so even if we own property that's tax exempt, if we allow commercial business to come in there and start operations, the portion of the property that they use for commercial usage would be taxable. So including property tax.
Okay.
That's different, but at the federal level, that is not the case.
Okay.
Yeah, the biggest taxpayer in Leavenworth County is the private prison out there behind Restiac. So, you know, I'm excited to have this new prison, the federal prison, and replacing the old one because you're affecting 300 families, 300 employees' families that are still going to have a job. I think they're even adding 30 positions to the new prison, but you know, if you want to make me happy, you get another private prison because they're the biggest taxpayer in Leavenworth County, and this new prison isn't going to pay any taxes. So, that's
You know,
the
I think
double-edged sword.
that the one thing that you mentioned about maybe creating a museum, you know, one of the top attractions in the state of California is the old Alcatraz prison, you know, and so there may be a benefit to the county and the city for sure, just in a tourism, because
They talked about that.
I would think that if they did open that up for people, there would be a
Big draw.
very high demand for people to go in and take a look at it, because it has a lot of history behind it.
And that's what everybody thinks when you say Leavenworth.
Yeah, well, I mean, even back in the Old West movies, they talked about bringing somebody to Leavenworth.
And there was also some discussion about maybe a training facility also for federal correction officers. So, but this didn't happen overnight. This has been in the works for many, many years. It's got put on hold for a while, and I know Mr. Kramer and several city commissioners have always worked toward getting this done, and they've made several trips to Washington and visited with Senator Moran, and Senator Moran was very helpful in getting this. I mean, it wouldn't have happened without him. So it just takes people to work toward this. So, anyways, is there any other administrative business this time?
This is Commissioner Stieben.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to bring this up to Mark to make sure. I'm quite sure the health department's aware of this, but the CDC 2 days ago on August 24th did remove their advisory for a 14-day quarantine travel between state and international travel. So I just want to make sure that was relayed to our health department, or make sure that they have received that. It does not change. In some cases, local and state authorities have taken on their own position on this, but as far as the CDC, that has changed as of 2 days ago.
Are you concerned that they might quarantine you when you come back, Commissioner?
No, I wasn't concerned about that, but I was just wanting to make sure that we're on the cutting edge of knowing what the latest recommendations are.
Yeah, the health office follows the state guidelines, and I know the state updated theirs like a week or so ago that talked about mass gatherings of over 500 was more important to look at that versus which state you were coming from. So, but whatever the state comes out, that's what our health office follows. Mm-hmm. The CDC is guidelines, the state is directive.
Well, I just thought it would be something that we should be aware of, that the CDC has changed their guidelines.
Sure.
Okay. And the state can change weekly, even daily?
They usually update theirs every 14 days because that's the cycle for the corona. So typically they don't update it in the midstream unless there's something big that changes. But so far, I think the last probably 3 months, every 14 days they provide an update for that.
Okay. Anything else before we move on to the consent agenda? Then I'll move on to the consent agenda. As commissioners had a chance to look at everything on the consent agenda, is there anything that needs to be pulled off and voted on separately?
This is Commissioner KAAZ. I would like to remove the check registry, please.
Okay. Anything else? Then I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda minus the check registry.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the consent agenda? Voting?
Aye.
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 Commissioner KAAZ votes aye.
Commissioner Stevens votes aye.
All right. I'll entertain a motion to approve the check registry.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Voting?
Aye.
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 Commissioner KAAZ abstains.
Mr. Stevens votes aye.
All right, thank you. All right, we're ready to move on to approve the Leavenworth County Special Funds budget.
Commissioner Smith's correct. We are going to approve the Leavenworth County Special Other Funds budget. This budget consists of local service, road and bridge, plus all the sewer districts in the county. The only fund that is levied in the special other funds is local service. That levy is remaining the same as it was last year at 8.424. We do need to pass a resolution to approve this budget, which will be resolution number 2020-30.
Yes.
-30.
Yes. Mhm.
That we will need a motion to approve the resolution plus a motion to approve the Leavenworth County Special Other Funds.
Okay. This time, I'll open up a public hearing for this, the special budget, or the special funds budget, which also includes local service and the sewer districts. Anyone here to speak on this budget? Then I'll close the public hearing on the Leavenworth County Special Funds budget of local service and sewer districts. I'll entertain a motion to approve of Resolution 2020-30.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the resolution. Is there any further discussion on the special funds budget or the sewer districts? Only thing I'd add was, what's sewer? Is that sewer district 3 that has the largest payment for the debt payment on that? So going forward, if we decommission any of these sewer districts, I hope that we don't put that kind of a burden on other sewer districts to the people that belong to the sewer district. Their rate, did it triple at that time from what their yearly assessments were? I believe it was something like that.
Probably. One thing to keep in mind on those is that statutorily, any benefit district, like a sewer district, is responsible for any payments or any improvements that happen in that sewer district. The county cannot assist. We can't reallocate general fund money to a sewer district or benefit district. So while their expenditure was quite high, it is theirs to bear, unfortunately.
Well,
Are you sure you weren't referencing 5? Because it looks like 3's been flat. It's the
it's because
largest
of the
and most
payment. It's
expensive.
because of the payment. If you look at the total,
Yeah.
it's the Glenwood Estates sewer district.
Obviously, the one that had the largest
Yeah.
increase, where this one, that's been flat. It's by far the
Right,
largest.
because it's
Yeah.
done, it's decommissioned, it's just a payment for
Right.
20 years.
Yeah.
But, there were some concerns that they paid for an oversized line for future development for future, and that's just not worked out. So, anyways, so we just want to keep that in mind because we heard some discussion on slowly phasing out the sewer districts.
Yeah, that's true. And I do think it's probably not, because it's not an agenda that we need to talk about it, but there has been some requests for development in that area, and I do think it's important to remember that that line was upsized for future development for that entire parcel that was down there, and that any development that occurs down there is, because it was included in the district, is required to connect to the sewer. So that's important to remember as we move forward.
Okay. All right, any further discussion? Then voting?
Aye.
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 Commissioner KAAZ votes aye.
Mr. Stevens votes aye.
Thank you.
Second. Do you need a second motion, Jen?
I do. We need a second motion now to actually approve the budget for Leavenworth County Special Other Funds.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion.
But you don't need the resolution number?
No, we just approved the resolution.
Resolution.
We just
Right.
did the resolution, now we got to approve the budget.
So I'll make a motion to approve the Leavenworth County Special Other Funds budget for 2021.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Voting?
Aye.
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 Commissioner KAAZ votes aye.
Commissioner Stevens votes aye.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you for all the
Thanks,
work
Jan.
you've done on this and
Absolutely.
the timing of the election and the budget at the same time. It's just glad everybody stayed healthy down there.
That's right.
So, anyways,
All right. Well, thank you.
thank you.
If the Commissioners would, the resolution doesn't have to be published, but if you would sign that, and then there'll be some other copies to sign.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Have a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Does anybody have anything to report on? I said earlier, Commissioner Culbertson and myself attended the ceremony to announce a new prison. You got anything to report on fire district meetings?
This is Commissioner KAAZ. I attended the fire district trustees meeting, and they worked through their approving their budget and had the intent to send a request to the county for CARES Act funding, and I don't know if that was received by Mark or not, but that was their intention.
Okay. And that's got the
And
same
then I-
deadline as the townships, correct?
Yes.
Right, and then I also yesterday participated in the workforce development meeting via Zoom, and they had discussions regarding the different types of training programs that are available through Workforce Partnership.
Okay.
And I listened in last night on the City of Leavenworth meeting.
Okay. And then we have Commissioner KAAZ and myself have a JCAB meeting tomorrow, 2 o'clock. And there's Port Authority today.
Yeah, I plan on attending that today, 11:30.
Okay. 11:30. I think we'll be out of here in time.
Commissioner Culbertson, are you going to listen in on Port Authority?
Port Authority, yeah.
Okay.
So we got our 2 commissioners there.
It's a Zoom meeting, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Anything else to report on? Then,
This is Commissioner Stevens. I'd like to just compliment the Public Works Department. We've had a couple instances in the last couple weeks of people that have had issues with trees in the right of way, and Public Works has reacted very well, and I just want to compliment them for responding so quickly to those concerns of citizens with the roads.
yep, they do a good job. Thank you. And all right, then, Mr. Van Pary's, we do need an executive session.
Mr. Chairman, I'd ask that the board convene an executive session or adjourn regular session, go into executive session for a period of 20 minutes to discuss attorney-client privileged matters.
You have it?
Yep.
Okay. And I'll entertain a motion to recess into executive session.
I move that the board recess for a closed executive meeting for the discussion of subject involving the legal interests of the county as justified by KSA 75-4319B2 for consultation with legal counsel for the board, which would be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship, and that board resume open meeting at
9:50.
9:50. That work?
Yeah, because that clock's slow.
Okay. Resume open meeting at 9:50 a.m. in the meeting room of the board. President Executive meeting will be Commissioners Culbertson, KAAZ, SCHIMKE, Smith, Stieben, Senior County Councilor Dave Van Parys, and County Administrator Mark LOUGHRY.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Voting?
Aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Cobb votes aye.
Commissioner Stevens votes aye.
Let the record show we returned to regular session. Executive session discussion was limited to legal interest of the county. No decisions were made. No action taken either. So before we adjourn, I'd like to pass around a letter I received from somebody from Atlanta, Georgia concerning Cushing Hospital. So let all the commissioners take a look at that, and we will discuss that at a later date.
Is this the gentleman that wanted the county to take over
Yes,
the
sir.
building
Yeah. So,
by eminent domain?
yes. Okay. Do we have anything else before the board at this time? Then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Voting.
Aye.
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 Commissioner Cobb votes aye.
All right. All right. Thank you.
Commissioner Stevens votes aye.